Commander Elias Voss sat on the cold, metal floor of his prison cell. His body ached from the countless beatings, but pain had become a familiar companion. The alien guards, tall, insect-like creatures called the HFY, enjoyed breaking their prisoners. But Voss refused to break. He was human, and humans never gave up. The prison was a massive underground complex, filled with prisoners from different species. Some had been here for years, others only days before they were dragged away, never to be seen again. No one knew what happened to them. Voss had learned to keep his head down, to observe. That was how he had survived so far. But tonight, something was different. Across the dimly lit corridor, in a small, isolated cage, sat a girl. Not human, but something else. Her skin was a deep shade of blue, with faint glowing patterns that pulsed like a heartbeat. She was thin, too thin, as if she had been starved for weeks. Her golden eyes, large and filled with fear, scanned the prison like a trapped animal. Voss had seen many prisoners come and go, but none like her. She was different. A group of HFY guards approached her cage, hissing in their strange language. One of them extended a claw, tapping the metal bars. The girl flinched, pressing herself against the back wall. The guards laughed, a cruel, clicking sound. Voss clenched his fists. He had learned not to interfere. But something about the girl's fear, the way the guards enjoyed her suffering, made his blood boil. One guard deactivated the cage's force field and stepped inside. The girl tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. The guard grabbed her by the arm, yanking her forward. She let out a sharp musical cry, almost like a song, but filled with terror. Voss couldn't stay silent anymore. "Hey!" he shouted. The guards turned, their glowing red eyes narrowing. Voss knew this was a mistake, but he didn't care. He stood up, ignoring the pain in his ribs. "She's just a kid," he said, his voice firm. "Leave her alone." One of the guards stalked toward his cell, slamming a clawed hand against the bars. "Human," it hissed. "You want to take her place." Voss didn't answer. Instead, he glanced at the girl. Her golden eyes locked onto his. A silent plea. The guards laughed again, then turned back to the girl. One of them raised an electric baton. Voss acted. He grabbed the loose piece of metal he had hidden under his cot and charged. The bar of his cell wasn't locked properly. He had spent days loosening it. With a loud snap, he broke free, tackling the nearest guard. Alarms blared. Prisoners shouted. Chaos erupted. And in the middle of it all, Voss grabbed the girl's hand and whispered, "Run." Voss sprinted forward, his enhanced body moving faster than he had ever imagined. The HFY commander swung his massive fist, but this time Voss was ready. He ducked, rolled to the side, and countered with a powerful punch to the alien's ribs. The impact sent a shockwave through the air. The commander staggered back, growling in pain. Voss felt it too, the nanites inside him surging, pushing him beyond human limits. Saris had recovered and joined the fight. She moved like a shadow, her blade slicing through the air. The commander blocked her attack, but left himself open for Voss. Voss saw the opening. He leaped, grabbing the alien's massive arm and twisting it with all his strength. A loud snap echoed through the hangar. The commander roared in pain, his injured limb hanging uselessly. But he wasn't done yet. With his remaining strength, the HFY commander swung his leg, kicking Voss with bone-crushing force. Voss flew across the room, slamming into a metal crate. Pain shot through his body, but he gritted his teeth and forced himself to stand. Saris dashed forward, using the distraction. With a swift, precise motion, she plunged her blade into the commander's chest. The alien's red eyes widened in shock. He gasped, then collapsed to the ground, lifeless. Voss exhaled heavily. It was over. Saris pulled her blade free, her golden eyes meeting Voss's. "We need to go. Now." Alarms still blared, and more HFY soldiers were approaching. The fight wasn't over yet, But they had no time to waste. Voss and Ceres ran toward their ship. The hangar doors were opening, revealing the starry void beyond. Astra's voice crackled over the intercom. "Engines are primed. Get in." They rushed up the ramp, and the moment they were inside, the doors sealed shut. Voss collapsed into a seat, his body aching from the battle. Ceres took the controls. "Hold on." The ship's thrusters roared, and they blasted out of the hangar just as enemy ships started firing. Energy blasts streaked past them, but Ceres twisted the controls, dodging with incredible skill. The Zhurkal ships pursued them, but Astra had already calculated an escape route. Engaging warp in 3, 2, 1. The stars stretched into lines as they jumped to faster than light speed. The Zhurkal were left behind. Silence filled the cabin. Voss exhaled, feeling exhaustion settle into his bones. Ceres turned to him, a small smile on her lips. "Not bad for your first mission." Voss chuckled weakly. "Not bad at all." She tossed him a data chip. "The intel we stole. This is what humanity needs to fight back." Voss held the chip tightly. The war wasn't over, but for the first time, they had hope. And hope was the deadliest weapon of all. Voss and the alien girl sprinted across the rocky prison yard, their feet kicking up dust in the dim light. The air was cold, but adrenaline burned in his veins. The cargo ship was so close, just a few hundred meters away. If they could reach it, they had a chance. Then, a spotlight hit them. "Stop," a mechanical voice boomed. Turrets whirred to life. Voss grabbed the girl and dived behind a stack of metal crates. A second later, gunfire tore through the air, energy blasts melting the ground where they had just stood. "Damn it," Voss cursed. They had been spotted. The girl clung to him, her breathing fast. Her glowing veins pulsed faintly. Was she scared or trying to use her strange ability again? Voss didn't know, but they had no time to figure it out. He peeked over the crates. Guards were coming. A dozen Zhurkal, their armored bodies gleaming under the lights, their weapons raised. No way out. Voss looked at the ship. Too far. Even if they ran now, they'd be gunned down before taking 5 steps. He clenched his jaw. There was only one way to save the girl. "Listen to me," he said, gripping her shoulders. "You need to run." She blinked, confused. "Run." Voss nodded. "Run while I distract them." The girl shook her head violently. "No." Footsteps grew louder. The guards were almost there. Voss took a deep breath. He had been a soldier once. He knew how this ended. He grabbed a discarded blaster from the ground, half broken, but maybe good for a few shots. Then, with one last look at the girl, he pushed her toward the ship. "Go," he shouted. "Now." She hesitated for just a second. Then understanding flashed in her golden eyes. She ran. Voss stood, raising the blaster. He fired the first shot. The energy bolt slammed into the nearest guard's chest, knocking him back. The others roared and opened fire. Voss dodged, returning fire, moving fast. He didn't need to win. He just needed to buy time. Blaster shots flew past him. He kept moving, forcing the guards to focus on him instead of the escaping girl. Then, pain exploded in his side. A burning heat. His legs buckled. He hit the ground, gasping. Blood pooled beneath him. He had been shot. Through blurry vision, he saw the girl. She had reached the ship. The engines roared to life, blue flames bursting from the thrusters. Voss smiled. She was safe. Then, darkness took him. The last thing he heard was the harsh voices of the guards as they surrounded him. "The human is ours." Voss stood near the window, staring into the endless void of space. His reflection looked different. His body felt different. He clenched his fists, feeling the raw power surging beneath his skin. The nanites inside him had changed something deep within. He was stronger, faster, more aware of everything around him. Sarah stood behind him, watching. She had been silent for a while, letting him process what had happened. Finally, she spoke. "You're not the same man who was captured by the Zhurkal." Voss turned to face her. "No, I'm not." His voice was steady, filled with a new confidence he hadn't known before. Sarah stepped forward. "Good, because the universe doesn't need the man you were. It needs the warrior you've become." Voss crossed his arms. "You keep talking about war. Who exactly are we fighting?" Sarah sighed, her golden eyes darkening. "The Zhurkal rule through fear. They enslave, they destroy, and they think no one can challenge them." She paused. "But they fear one thing: humanity." Voss frowned. "Why? Earth isn't exactly a galactic superpower." Cirrus gave a small smile. "Not yet." She walked to a control panel and pressed a button. A holographic map of the galaxy appeared. It showed different star systems, some marked in red, others in blue. Most of the red zones were controlled by the Zhurkal. "Humanity is different from other species," Ceres explained. "We evolve under pressure. We adapt, we survive, we fight back." She turned to him. "The Zhurkal know that if humanity is given time, we will become too powerful to control." Voss exhaled slowly. "And they won't let that happen." Cirrus nodded. "They're already planning something. I've intercepted communications, talks of an attack, something meant to crush humanity before we even realize the threat." Voss's jaw tightened. He had seen what the Zhurkal were capable of. He had suffered under their rule. He wasn't going to let them do the same to Earth. He turned back to Cirrus, his decision clear. "Then we stop them." Cirrus smiled. "I was hoping you'd say that." She pressed another button, and the hologram shifted, zooming in on a distant planet. "A Zhurkal outpost. This is our first target." Voss studied the image. "What's there?" "Weapons, supplies, and intel on their next move." Cirrus's voice was firm. "We take it out. We send a message. Humanity won't be broken." Voss nodded. "When do we start?" Cirrus's golden eyes gleamed. "Now." The ship's engines roared to life, and Voss felt something inside him shift. For the first time in a long while, he wasn't just surviving. He had a purpose, and he was ready to fight. Elias Voss woke to pain. His whole body felt as if it had been torn apart, bruised and battered. His head throbbed with a dull ache, and his chest felt tight, like something was pressing down on him. He opened his eyes slowly, blinking against the harsh, artificial light above him. "Where am I?" His first thought was that he was still in the Zhurkal prison, back in the holding cells. But as his eyes adjusted, he realized something was different. The walls were smooth, sleek, nothing like the rusting, cold metal of his old cell. The air was cool and clean, with a faint, unfamiliar scent. The room around him was silent, too silent. No alarms, no clattering footsteps of guards. Suddenly, a low hum filled the air. The door to the room slid open, and a figure stepped inside. Voss's heart raced. He didn't know if it was friend or foe. But as the figure entered, the world seemed to shift. Standing in front of him was the girl, or rather, the woman she had become. She was taller, more powerful now, and her golden eyes gleamed with a strength that made Voss's breath catch. Her skin, once pale and fragile, now shimmered with a radiant glow. She was no longer the terrified child he had freed from her cage. She was something else entirely. Voss tried to move, but pain shot through his body, making him wince. The woman noticed, her expression softening. "You're awake," she said, her voice calm and soothing. It was the same voice, but somehow deeper, more confident. "Where am I?" Voss asked, his voice hoarse. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she walked toward him, her steps graceful but powerful. She stopped at his side and gently placed her hand on his arm. "You are safe," she said, "for now." Voss tried to sit up, but his muscles screamed in protest. "I thought—" he began, but she interrupted him with a soft laugh. You thought you were dead? She asked, her smile faint but reassuring. I thought you were too. Voss frowned. You? She nodded. My name is Cirrus Valkyrie, she said. I'm the last of my people, but I owe you my life. I came to return the favor. Voss blinked, confused. Return the favor? He remembered the escape, the ship, the blaster. Had she rescued him? Or was this something else entirely? Cirrus raised a hand, and with a slow, deliberate movement, she brushed her fingers against Voss's chest. He felt a strange energy pulse through him, and suddenly, the pain in his body began to fade, replaced by a warmth that spread out to his limbs. You were dying, she said softly. I brought you back. Voss stared at her in disbelief. You brought me back? She nodded. You have a long road ahead of you, Voss, but you will heal, and you will be stronger than before. Voss blinked, struggling to understand. Stronger? Cirrus smiled again, but this time it was different, more knowing. Yes, stronger, she repeated. You'll need it, because the war is far from over. Voss sat in stunned silence, the weight of her words sinking in. His mind raced as he tried to process everything. Cirrus stepped back and turned toward the door, her gaze sweeping the room. But for now, rest, she said. You will need your strength for what comes next. Voss watched her leave, a sense of unease and wonder growing in his chest. He had no idea what had just happened, but he knew one thing for sure. His life was about to change forever. Voss lay still in the bed, his body no longer in pain but filled with an unfamiliar energy. It was a strange feeling, like every cell in his body was awake, alive in ways he hadn't experienced before. He had never felt so strong or so aware. The room he was in was quiet, almost too quiet. Soft light filtered through the large windows, revealing the vastness of space outside. Stars twinkled far in the distance, a deep black void stretching out forever. He was on a ship, but not like the ones he had known. This one was sleek, advanced beyond anything Earth could have ever built. Voss's thoughts raced. What had happened to him? The last thing he remembered was the pain, the gunfire, then darkness. He had been sure he was dead, but now, here he was, alive, and somehow different. The door to his room slid open with a soft hiss. Voss turned his head, expecting to see a guard or someone else, but it was Cirrus. She walked in without a sound, her presence commanding, as if the air itself shifted when she entered. Her eyes, glowing faintly gold, locked with his. How do you feel? She asked, her voice soft, but laced with power. Voss sat up, testing his body. There was no pain, just strength. More strength than he had ever known. He stood up slowly, surprised by how easy it was. He felt lighter, faster. His muscles rippled with the energy coursing through them. I feel good, he said, his voice steady. Better than good. I feel. He paused, searching for the right word. Alive. Cirrus smiled, her eyes gleaming with approval. You should, she said. The nanite symbiotes I implanted in you are already at work. They're repairing your body, improving your strength, your senses. You're no longer just human, Voss. Voss frowned, trying to understand. Nanite symbiotes. Cirrus nodded. Small machines, microscopic. They work with your biology to enhance your capabilities. They're a gift, a repayment for saving my life. Voss felt his heart race as the weight of her words settled over him. You did this. You made me. What, like you? Cirrus's expression softened. Not exactly. You're still human. But you're stronger now. Faster. Your mind will be clearer, and you'll heal faster than any human ever could. Voss ran a hand through his short hair, still trying to take it all in. Why? He asked. Why did you do this for me? She looked at him for a long moment, her eyes almost glowing with ancient wisdom. You gave me a chance, Voss. A chance to live. I owe you more than just my life. And now, I will help you become something greater than you ever imagined. A warrior who can fight back against the galaxy's injustices. Voss shook his head, still in disbelief. But I'm just a soldier. I'm not. Not anymore. Ceres interrupted. You are something more now. Humanity is something more. You've only just begun to realize it. The Zhurkal and others like them have ruled too long. They think humans are weak, unimportant, but they're wrong. The way she said it, the fire in her voice, it was hard to argue with her. He had been weak once, just a prisoner with no hope of escape. But now he was something else, something far stronger than he had ever been. He looked at her, meeting her gaze with a newfound resolve. What do I do next? Ceres smiled, a quiet satisfaction in her eyes. Now we fight. Together. Voss nodded, feeling something inside him shift. He didn't know exactly what awaited them, but he was ready. He had a second chance at life, and he would use it to make sure humanity never had to feel weak again. Let's do it. Voss lay still in the bed, his body no longer in pain but filled with an unfamiliar energy. It was a strange feeling, like every cell in his body was awake, alive in ways he hadn't experienced before. He had never felt so strong or so aware. The room he was in was quiet, almost too quiet. Soft light filtered through the large windows, revealing the vastness of space outside. Stars twinkled far in the distance, a deep black void stretching out forever. He was on a ship, but not like the ones he had known. This one was sleek, advanced beyond anything Earth could have ever built. Voss's thoughts raced. What had happened to him? The last thing he remembered was the pain, the gunfire, then darkness. He had been sure he was dead. But now, here he was, alive, and somehow different. The door to his room slid open with a soft hiss. Voss turned his head, expecting to see a guard or someone else. But it was Ceres. She walked in without a sound, her presence commanding, as if the air itself shifted when she entered. Her eyes, glowing faintly gold, locked with his. "How do you feel?" she asked, her voice soft but laced with power. Voss sat up, testing his body. There was no pain, just strength. More strength than he had ever known. He stood up slowly, surprised by how easy it was. He felt lighter, faster. His muscles rippled with the energy coursing through them. "I feel good," he said, his voice steady. "Better than good. I feel." He paused, searching for the right word. "Alive." Ceres smiled, her eyes gleaming with approval. "You should," she said. "The nanite symbiotes I implanted in you are already at work. They're repairing your body, improving your strength, your senses. You're no longer just human, Voss." Voss frowned, trying to understand. "Nanite symbiotes." Ceres nodded. "Small machines, microscopic. They work with your biology to enhance your capabilities. They're a gift, a repayment for saving my life." Voss felt his heart race as the weight of her words settled over him. "You did this. You made me. What like you?" Ceres's expression softened. "Not exactly. You're still human. But you're stronger now. Faster. Your mind will be clearer, and you'll heal faster than any human ever could." Voss ran a hand through his short hair, still trying to take it all in. "Why?" he asked. "Why did you do this for me?" She looked at him for a long moment, her eyes almost glowing with ancient wisdom. "You gave me a chance, Voss. A chance to live. I owe you more than just my life. And now, I will help you become something greater than you ever imagined. A warrior who can fight back against the galaxy's injustices." Voss shook his head, still in disbelief. "But I'm just a soldier. I'm not." "Not anymore," Ceres interrupted. "You are something more now. Humanity is something more. You've only just begun to realize it. The Zhurkal and others like them have ruled too long. They think humans are weak, unimportant, but they're wrong." The way she said it, the fire in her voice, it was hard to argue with her. He had been weak once, just a prisoner with no hope of escape. But now he was something else, something far stronger than he had ever been. He looked at her, meeting her gaze with a newfound resolve. What do I do next? Cirrus smiled, a quiet satisfaction in her eyes. Now we fight. Together. Voss nodded, feeling something inside him shift. He didn't know exactly what awaited them, but he was ready. He had a second chance at life, and he would use it to make sure humanity never had to feel weak again. Let's do it. The alarms blared like a scream through the metal halls. Red lights flashed, casting eerie shadows as Voss and Cirrus ran. The Zhurkal soldiers were awake now, their heavy boots pounding against the floor. Voss clenched his jaw. So much for a quiet exit. Cirrus smirked, her golden eyes gleaming. I was getting bored anyway. They sprinted down the corridor, weapons ready. A squad of Zhurkal soldiers appeared ahead, blocking their path. Without hesitation, Cirrus leaped forward, moving faster than any human should. Her blade flashed, and in a second, 2 of the aliens collapsed. Voss raised his rifle, his enhanced reflexes kicking in. The nanites in his body made everything sharper, faster. He fired precise shots, hitting his targets with deadly accuracy. The remaining soldiers dropped before they could even react. Keep moving, Cirrus ordered. They dashed through the base, dodging enemy fire as they made their way toward the exit. The Zhurkal weren't just chasing them now. They were everywhere. More guards poured into the corridors, their alien weapons lighting up the dark passageways with deadly energy blasts. Voss ducked behind a metal crate, barely avoiding a shot that scorched the wall behind him. He peeked out and fired back, taking down 2 more enemies. Cirrus grabbed a grenade from her belt. Cover me. Voss nodded, stepping out just long enough to suppress the advancing soldiers. Cirrus tossed the grenade down the hall. A second later, Vu-Ohm. The explosion rocked the base, sending debris flying and knocking the enemy off their feet. Go. Now, she shouted. They didn't waste time. They ran through the smoke, past fallen soldiers, pushing toward their only chance of escape. The exit was close, just ahead, a large hangar where their ship was waiting. But then, a deep, guttural growl echoed through the air. Voss stopped in his tracks. Something was coming. Something big. Out of the shadows stepped a Zhurkal commander, taller, stronger, and covered in heavy armor. His glowing red eyes locked onto them, and a cruel smile spread across his alien face. You're not leaving alive, the commander growled. His voice was like grinding metal. Voss tightened his grip on his weapon. He could feel the nanites in his body surging, preparing him for the fight. He exchanged a glance with Cirrus. You take the ship, he said. I'll hold him off. Cirrus's expression hardened. No, we fight together. The commander lunged. Voss barely had time to dodge before a massive fist crashed into the wall beside him, denting the metal. The sheer power behind the blow was terrifying. Cirrus moved first, striking with her blade, but the commander blocked it with unnatural speed. He retaliated, slamming his arm into her side, sending her flying across the room. Voss felt rage build inside him. He wouldn't let this creature win. He wouldn't let the Zhurkal stop them. With a deep breath, he charged, his enhanced strength fueling every step. This was it, the fight for their survival. You said. The ship's engines hummed with power as it raced through the galaxy. Voss stood by the window, watching the stars blur into streaks of light. The planet they were heading toward was just ahead. He could feel the weight of what they were about to do pressing down on him. It had been a few days since Cirrus had given him his new purpose, and every day he had felt himself becoming stronger, sharper. His thoughts were clearer. He was no longer just reacting. He was planning, thinking, ready. The Zhurkal outpost was close now. Their ship was a small, sleek vessel, built for speed and stealth. It wasn't large enough to stand up to a full Zhurkal fleet, but it didn't need to be. Cirrus walked up beside him, her golden eyes scanning the stars outside. "We'll hit them fast," she said quietly. "Take out their defenses, get the intel, and leave before they even realize what happened." Voss nodded. "Sounds simple enough." She smiled faintly. "Nothing is ever as simple as it sounds." The ship's AI, a soft-voiced woman named Astra, spoke over the intercom. "Approaching target in 10 minutes, Captain." Cirrus turned toward the cockpit. "Get ready," she said to Voss. "We'll be on the surface soon." Voss had never been on a mission like this. He had fought in battles before, but this was different. The stakes were higher. The Zhurkal weren't just an enemy. They were a threat to everything humanity could become. He prepared himself, strapping on the lightweight armor Cirrus had given him. It was strong, flexible, and more advanced than anything he had ever worn. As he finished, Cirrus came up behind him. She placed her hand on his shoulder, her gaze steady. "You're ready," she said simply. Voss nodded, swallowing the nervousness that threatened to rise. "Let's go." The ship descended through the atmosphere, the planet's surface growing larger by the second. They'd reached a remote area where the Zhurkal base was hidden in a valley, surrounded by jagged mountains. It was the perfect location for a secretive operation. Cirrus had already planned the route, and as the ship settled into a low orbit, she turned to Voss. "We'll drop in a few clicks away. Move fast, move quiet. We don't want to be spotted until we're already inside." Voss felt his heartbeat quicken. It was time. They had to strike before the Zhurkal even realized they were there. The ship's hatch opened, and the cool air of the planet's surface hit him. He could see the base now, well guarded, with towers and patrols moving along the perimeter. It would be a challenge to get past them unnoticed. Cirrus crouched low, signaling him to follow. Voss did, his movements silent. The wind howled softly as they made their way toward the compound. The Zhurkal soldiers were everywhere, but with their advanced training in the cover of night, they remained unseen. Soon, they were close enough to hear the voices of the guards. Voss's hand gripped his weapon, his senses sharp. He could feel the adrenaline beginning to build in his chest. "On my mark," Cirrus whispered. "We move in." Quietly. Voss nodded, ready. This was their moment. They couldn't afford mistakes. Cirrus's eyes met his. She didn't need to say anything more. The plan was set. Now it was time to execute. Now. They sprinted forward, fast and silent, moving like shadows in the night. Elias Voss ran, pulling the alien girl behind him. The prison alarm screamed through the halls, red lights flashing like warning signs of death. The guards were shouting, their clawed feet clicking against the metal floors as they chased after them. The girl's hand was small and cold in his grip, but she kept up, her bare feet barely making a sound. She was scared. He could feel her trembling. But she didn't resist. She wanted to escape as much as he did. A deep voice echoed through the speakers. "Prisoner escape in Sector 9. All units respond." Voss cursed under his breath. They had little time. He turned a sharp corner, dragging the girl into the shadows of a broken corridor. The prison was old, built by different alien races over centuries. Some sections were falling apart. Voss had studied the layout for months, waiting for a chance to escape. The girl looked up at him, her golden eyes filled with questions. She didn't speak his language, but he understood what she wanted to know. "Why are you helping me?" Voss didn't know the answer. Maybe because he had seen too much cruelty in this place. Maybe because she was just a child, and he couldn't stand by while she suffered. Footsteps pounded closer. No time to think. Voss pointed ahead. "Keep running. Stay close." She nodded. They moved fast, ducking through an old maintenance tunnel. The air was thick with dust and rust, but it was better than being caught. Voss led the way, pushing aside debris, his heart pounding in his chest. Behind them, the guards shouted, getting closer. Then, a metal door slammed shut behind them. Voss turned, eyes wide. The girl had done it. Her small hand was still pressed against a control panel, her glowing veins pulsing for a second before fading. Voss stared at her. She had some kind of ability. He didn't know what, but it was useful. She gave him a small, nervous smile. "No time for that," Voss muttered, grabbing her hand again. "Let's go." They climbed a ladder, pushing through a hatch. Cool air hit Voss's face. They were outside. The prison was built on a rocky, alien moon. Above them, a giant gas planet loomed, its swirling clouds glowing blue and white. The sky was endless darkness, stars twinkling like distant fireflies. But they weren't safe yet. Searchlights swept across the prison yard. Towers with gun turrets stood tall, scanning for movement. One wrong step, and they'd be dead. Voss spotted a cargo ship near the landing docks. It was small but fast, maybe their only way out. He turned to the girl. "We need to get to that ship." She nodded again, her golden eyes fierce. She wasn't afraid anymore. Voss took a deep breath. Then, together, they ran toward their only chance at freedom.